I'm simplifying a lot of tax information here
Right.
into a few minutes, but people need some really specific guidance on this issue, because it's an area that could dramatically increase your wealth, and it's an area that can dramatically bring you to zero. Because the other part of it, even beyond the tax part, is you got the 28-year-old new homeowner, and all of a sudden overnight they become a property owner, a property developer, and a landlord all at once. What could possibly go wrong on undertaking $1 million project with zero experience, right? Like, what could possibly go wrong? So, Trevor and I know this because we both worked in construction for many years.
Yes.
So we're kind of, in one respect, like we're very excited about this opportunity, because we know our clients with like good guidance. It's like it provides a lot of opportunities for them to build wealth. But at the other point, it's like, I know some people are going to mess this up really bad.
Oh yeah, and okay, so they've loosened the mortgage rules, and funny enough, all of the major municipalities, at least most of the ones here in Alberta, have already loosened up their zoning rules for the majority of the cities, so it makes it easier for people to develop on their properties.
All over Canada.
All over
Vancouver, all over they've been doing this.
However, I don't think that they have the structures in place or mechanisms in place for permitting, licensing, all of these things that will kind of foster this movement going forward. So it's still going to be limited by the capacity of the government to push forward permits, right?
True. Yeah, we were talking one just the other day.
Yeah.
Remember, we were talking about that one the other day where the client's like, yeah, I got a space on my lot. There's no problem. I could put a skinny house. And now we're thinking, it's like, okay, we've done this transaction in the past, but we always subdivide, build 2 skinnies, and then we're in business. But we would never build a skinny house on the same property just because the financing didn't work. But now if we could get the financing for that project, we're not sure if we could actually get the permit for that project, because are they going to let us put a skinny right next to an existing house on the same titled lot? Like, I don't know. We've never tried it because, we've never had the reason, it's never been a financeable project that way, right?
So this could be another case of, the government putting out a program that will only really work for a very, very small portion of the population, right? Just like the dental benefit and just like these other things that they're putting out there is like, okay, yeah, you put it out there as it sounds like a great announcement. Yeah, so many people are going to get dental. When really it comes down to only a very, very small portion of people will actually qualify to get that benefit. I think this might turn out to be that type of a scenario.
I think you're going to get, if you look at most of those developed permits too, I actually think it might guide them to the right solution, because there is permitting options right now for a suite plus a laneway home. That exists, right, in most municipalities, right?
Yeah.
So they already have the suite and the laneway home, but I think getting to the 4 units might be challenging anyways, because that would probably mean some sort of weird makeup on the lot or some sort of tear down and rebuild, which I would think the lenders are going to be hesitant. I think they know enough that they don't want the 28-year-old homeowner who, with their unionized government job for Alberta Health Services playing property developer. Like, maybe that's not a great idea, right? So, but I think they'll let them build the suite and the laneway home, because there's not as many things that can go wrong if you're hiring a qualified contractor. I say not as many things. There's still a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Still a lot
of things that can go wrong.
Yeah, still a lot that can go wrong. But comparatively speaking, compared to a full tear down and rebuild, like even just the time involved in that whole process, right? So it's going to be one of these. This is a major opportunity. This is a shocking update. Like, it really is a shocking update. And it's funny how they're saying that the announcement in September was the boldest announcement. It's like, it was kind of like just putting us on par with most of the rest of the world who has 30-year mortgages, right? Love them or hate them is like that's the standard in the Western world. So, but allowing people to get insured mortgages to basically develop small rental complexes on their primary residence is like shocking. It's a big update, right? And there's going to be a lot of opportunity in this and a lot of risk in this. A lot of risk, right? And it's it's just funny to me, like when we talk about like risk and investments, and it's like, I might tell people a leverage strategy where, if I walk them through a leverage strategy where, we're taking out maybe 25% leverage on some boring dividend paying stocks. But, someone's going to go 19 or someone's going to go 10x leverage on being a small property developer. And somehow that's not a risky strategy. It's like people need to understand. It's like, okay, are you going to be able to find tenants? Do you know that they don't always pay sometimes? And sometimes they wreck stuff too, right?
Sometimes they do.
Sometimes they wreck stuff too. So like just because the bank will give you the loan, how stable is that job that you have, right? Are you the next consultant at one of these consulting firms that's going to be replaced by AI or something like that? So, they have to understand that there's some major opportunity. This is a big risk reward play, right? I like it because I know we're going to be able to help a bunch of clients make a bunch of money. I know some people are going to walk off a cliff. Like looking long term, it's a little scary because I know my kids are going to go try to buy a house one day and they're going to say, here's your new 4-unit, $3.5 million starter home. It comes, equipped with 3 tenants. This one guy's on AISH and the other guy is, you know what I mean? Right. It's going to be wild of what it's going to create. But like, that's not our goal here. It's like almost like I have to, at this point, I have to just look at the outcomes as almost comical. It's like my goal is how do I help, myself, my clients build some wealth, right? Because the outcome for our kids is already set in stone. It's like, the purchasing power of their wages is going to be inflated away dramatically. So we better do what we can to set them up in a situation that's, that we can have the same.
And a couple of points, going back to municipalities and stuff. So let's say you can get the permit, okay? And they figure out a way to make it more efficient. Mm-hmm. We don't have the manpower to actually build these suites. We are low on manpower, at least highly skilled manpower. So there can be some shoddy stuff that's coming down the pipeline.
Yes, and there are not many developers who know how to do legal suites well.
Exactly.
Because there's just not a lot of them out there, right? Like we have been working with our contractors for a while and telling us like, you need to get into this business. This is where, you need to skate to where the puck is going. And it's like, they are going to, in some way, shape or form. I've been telling people for a year and a half, like they set it in the, in the budget, right? That they're going to come out with something. And this isn't, the adults made this decision. I don't think the people that we're hearing from the podium made this decision. The adults made the decision because there's something key about this decision. It's effective January 15th, 2025. And so we've been living in this clown world for the last 2 or 3 years where the clowns get up to the podium and they make an announcement of, here's your new wage subsidy or rental subsidy or new government program. Yay, me. There you go. Praise Canada, right? And then they walk off the stage, and then our phones start ringing. We have to tell clients, it's like, there's actually no way to access this program right now. It doesn't exist. Like, I know they announced it, but it doesn't exist. Like, check back in a day, a week, a month, a couple of months, and maybe they'll have some way to access it. This one here is like, they pre-announced it.
They set a date.
This is a serious announcement. They know how big it is. They put January 15th, where the announcement's made October 8th. They're giving the lenders time. This is a real thing. Like, this is going to happen. When I see that, it's like, this decision was made at the adults table.
And this was pre-planned because that zoning thing happened, I think it was either early this year or late last year with the whole rezoning and opening up spots for development in all residential areas, basically in the whole city.
Yes.
Before in Edmonton, it was just mainly in the core where they had extra large lots and you could subdivide and put skinnies. But now it's everywhere.
Everywhere.
Absolutely everywhere. So they knew ahead of time that this was going to be coming, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's that. Now, one thing I want to mention is you spoke earlier about it might be difficult for somebody else to purchase said property after it's all developed. You get a thing.
Yeah,
fourplex, right?
There's a variance, right? You have to be. It's good you pointed that out, Trevor. So there's the variance we were talking about. Is they're going to give you up to $2 million, to develop. So this thing, you could have the teardown lot that's already worth 500, and then you borrow another 2 million. Okay, this thing's worth 2.5 million, right? Or
because you're allowed to borrow up to 90%.
90%, right? Or it's even if it's worth 1.8 or something like that. Remember back to the boldest mortgage announcement rules from right? September, right?
They expanded out to 1.5.
Yeah, the buyer pool of insured mortgages, so people who are buying new houses or first-time buyers can only purchase, specifically the first-time buyers can only borrow 1.5. So they can only buy a house up to 1.5.
Well,
so
a high ratio mortgage.
High ratio mortgage, right? So that the minute you construct the monstrosity that's worth more than $1.5 million, you have to understand the asset that you have, that it's a difficult to move asset, right? And most people are, they're accustomed to, selling regular residential real estate, and, it's hard enough to move. Sell a fourplex, right? Sell a piece of commercial property. That is a much different game, okay? And there's fewer buyers for that. So I'd also be very, very careful. The minute you get into that asset that's worth more than $1.5 million, your future buyer pool for that asset is dramatically smaller. So, if I'm looking at this, it's like the safe zone we're going to be looking at for clients, putting aside the risk of construction and, do they have enough liquidity to, see some tough times through. It's like putting aside, I think the sweet spot is probably going to be the 3 uniters. Mm-hmm. And if we can get the 3 uniters under $1.5 million, under $1.5 million.
Yeah, 1.49999.
Yeah, I'd actually want a little bit of growth room too, because I don't want to. Because you see this when you look at listings. Like when you looked at listings, the old rules, it's like the listings would bump up against that $1 million, right?
And basically
they would stop.
Yeah, because the buyer pool goes down so dramatically over that $1 million mark because you had to have 20%.
That's right.
Now it opens up that area for more buyers. I mean, I wish this would have come a little bit earlier, because we sold some properties in BC that would have benefited from that for sure.
Yeah.
But I think one thing to remember is, like, if you're going down the road for this particular strategy, you got to be thinking, this is a property I'm going to be holding in my family forever.
100 years.
Right? So if you're planning on doing this and then trying to get out quickly, that's probably not going to work well for you.
Yep.
And if you keep it and you structure things right by getting good counsel, you're able to keep that thing in your family for generations.
Yes.
Yeah.